Hey guys, in this week's topic we're going to be discussing how to take the golf swing you have and actually shape the golf ball. So I'm a big believer that if you understand how to create a draw and how to create a fade, you're going to be able to figure out what method, what idea, what feel works best for you. Right, so I have a station set up here, and let's talk first about drawing the golf ball. So in drawing the golf ball, we need to have a club path that comes from more into out or more to the right. We need to have a club face that is slightly more closed in relation to my path, right? So let's say this target right here represents 0 degrees. I'm gonna want my club path to come anywhere from 3 to 5 degrees to the right of that 0 line, with a club face that's anywhere from 1 to 2 degrees to the left of where my path is pointing, okay? And so for reference, what we'll do is we'll set up a target, we'll set up an alignment stick, and then what we're gonna do is have another alignment stick just on the outside of where my hands would be. What that's gonna do is give me sort of an obstacle or barrier to be able to swing sort of more underneath or slightly more into out. And then what I want you guys to do is just go to the top of your swing, wherever it might be, and then when you start coming down, I want you to get to where the shaft is actually parallel to the ground. At this particular point for a draw, your club shaft should be slightly more behind the hands or underneath this particular alignment stick, and your club face is actually going to be a little bit more toe in. So once I know that that's where I need to be before I move into my golf shot, I can kind of use that reference to feel where the club and where the club face need to be. So if I'm just sitting here on the driving range and I go to the top and I start down the way I normally would into the ball, I'm gonna feel whatever it is I need to feel to get that club shaft a little bit more behind me. So for those of you that have the club more in front of you going back, you might actually feel like you side bend or tilt a little bit to get to that position. For those of you that get the club sort of deeper back and behind you with your normal swing, you might actually just feel like you can rotate and actually let that left wrist kind of flex a little bit. The toe starts turning in, and look, any of these examples, I'm in a position where I can shape and in this particular spot draw the golf ball. So let me go ahead and give that a shot. So once I've kind of got that feel up to the top, a little bit more club behind me, for me it just feels a little bit like my right shoulder's a little bit lower. I feel a little flexing in my lead wrist, and so let's go ahead and see if we can hit one. So that ball starts a little bit right of my target and actually starts to draw back just left of my target. So that's sort of the confirmation that I've done enough of one of these things. If, for instance, my ball started too far to the right, I would know that that club face is probably a little bit open at this point. So then I would rehearse and exaggerate the feeling of the club getting behind my hands, but maybe that toe would feel like it's a little bit more in. Okay, so now let's talk about how to fade the golf ball. So really just think about the opposite. So instead of having the alignment stick outside of my club shaft, I'm actually going to have it on the inside of where my hands and the club shaft are going to be. So here's my toe line again, it's set up. So you can see that I've brought my alignment stick more on the inside, roughly at the same angle as I am with my 8-iron at address, okay? And now what are we talking about? Well, if we want to fade the golf ball, we need to get that shaft parallel in the downswing a little bit more on the toe line, or even with this stick, and we want that face to be just a little bit closed as well. That's going to allow me to create a path that goes to the left with a face angle that is slightly more to the right of where my path is. So if I can kind of get that set up, and then I get that feel, so my draw, I felt like I got more back and behind me, and then I felt that side bend in my right shoulder. My fades, let's see what that feels like. So the club feels like it's slightly more in front of me already, and then when I come down, it definitely feels like the club is just more in front of me. So if I can get that feel, use that reference, and if you're worried about pulling it a little bit, maybe go a little bit more toe up on the downswing. So let's try that. Up to the top, come down on top, toe up a little bit, and see if we can make this ball fade. So that ball definitely started left of the target and it started to fade back. Once I know how that feels, I can work on creating less curvature or more curvature by making more of an extreme differential between the face and the path. And this is gonna really help me in not changing my golf swing, but creating some feels where I'm able to either shape the golf ball, or more importantly, when the ball's not behaving the way that I want it to, I now know a blueprint for being able to fix it. So give that drill a shot and let me know if you like to hit more fades or more draws in the comments below.